Hey guys, have you ever wondered what separates a good score from a great one? Those of you who are starting at a score of 600 or 620, have you asked this question? How long does it take to get to a 760, 770? If these are questions that are important to you, regardless of whether you're taking the current GMAT or the GMAT Focus Edition, join me and Siddharth on 9th of November and watch this webinar on how Siddharth improved from a 600 to a 770 in about 2.5 months or so. So here are a few things that we'll talk about. The first thing that we'll talk about is planning. When you want to go to an extremely high GMAT score, something that's better than 99 percentile, you want to make sure that you have a plan to get there. You know exactly the areas that you need to focus on, and you have a plan to execute on those areas. So we'll talk about planning for that 770. Siddharth started at a verbal score of 30, and so verbal was a really big part of his overall improvement plan. So we're going to really talk about what helped him go from a V30 to a V44. And when you think about that, it's not just about building a foundation and executing on it. It's also about perfection. So we're going to start with building that foundation and then moving towards an 80th percentile and then getting to that 98, 99 percentile ability or so. And we'll specifically deep dive in both SCCR and to a certain extent in RC. So for those GFE folks, you're going to find this extremely useful as well. Now, Siddharth took 2 attempts, and the first attempt he scored a 740 from that 600 starting point, and then he still pushed himself to get to a 770. Many of us don't do that. We're going to talk about his motivation to get to a 770 and what he thinks he's going to get out of this improved score. We will talk about study habits. How did he find time? How consistently did he study? What happened on those days when you just simply don't want to put in that effort? How did he motivate himself? And then last but not the least, we'll talk about the exam experience. How was it taking the test? And what are some of the do's and don'ts that Siddharth can recommend us? Again, 99 percentile is a very special score. Very few people get that, but it's not because very few people have the capability to do it. It's because very few people inculcate those habits and those best practices. Watch this webinar on 9th of November to really see how you can inculcate some or many of these habits and practices in your preparation and get to such a high GMAT score.